And I just wanted to start off by saying congratulations on the film. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and it's a truly amazing film, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David. It's been so beautiful having it resonate with people. It's overwhelmingly beautiful, so thank you for being open to it.
And of course, this is very different as well because this is a very personal story for you. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how nervous does that make you feel, making a movie that is so personal and then releasing it out to the public to watch?
It's interesting because, when we were shooting, I didn't have time to be that nervous. When I was writing, I was alone, and you never know how many people are going to see it. You just write from the heart. And then when we were shooting, I just was so busy, I didn't have time. And then in test screenings, when it started really resonating with people, I started to realize, oh, a lot of people are going to see this, and that's obviously always been the case and the hope. But I think as more and more people see it, it's been a process for me to deal with that vulnerability. It's not a fear or anything. It's just getting used to kind of being so exposed,
Yeah.
and but it's beautiful. It's a really freeing experience to bare your soul and have other people say that they see themselves in that story in some way. It's definitely the goal as an artist. So it's a journey that I want to be on, even though I'm kind of learning as I go.
Was it difficult in the early days when you first sat down to work on the screenplay? Because I'm a writer myself, and sometimes I find that there's things in my life that I want to write about, but because I'm so close to it, I find that I just can't. Was it difficult for you when you first started working on the screenplay?
This was interesting because I started writing it to tell this friend what he had meant to me, and a lot of my other work I'm just writing because I have something to say or I want to explore something. But this one, the why was so much bigger than me. I thought I have to tell this friend what he meant to me, and then he ended up passing away, and I had never told him. So then I had to rewrite it and tell everybody what he meant to me. I was full of this regret that I'd never told him, and I told his widow. I said, now I have to tell everybody. So I think that took away the normal feeling that I would feel writing my personal story. It just felt like I just have to tell the truth and I have to tell it to everybody.
Yeah. So what is that like? I have to ask, as a writer, sitting down and writing scenes that basically have happened to you, really, does that make the writing process easier because you know what was said and what happened, or does it make it more difficult?
This was inspired by, and it's semi autobiographical. I did take a lot of creative liberties, and what I would focus on is what was the experience that I had, or the truth of a sequence. For example, it was like, oh, this is when I found chosen family, or this is when I learned that you can stay when you have conflict with someone. They don't always leave you, or whatever the thing I had learned in real life. And then I kind of built a more cinematic sequence around that moment. And so I just stayed true to the experiences I had, but I had to make them different to work in a film, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I found when I was watching the film, I went through a range of emotions. I even cried a couple of times while I was watching it, and then other times I would be laughing. What was that journey like for you as well? Was it a little bit of an emotional roller coaster for yourself, not only when you were writing it, but when you were directing and watching it play out in front of you?
Absolutely. I think if I'd written it 5 or 10 years ago, I couldn't have found the comedy in it. But they say tragedy plus time is comedy.
Yeah.
And I was on the other side of it enough to find the humor. Plus, I just tend to have a sense of humor. And I think that joy and sorrow they kind of go together in a way, And so in a lot of my projects and stories, I find that I'm writing things where people are crying at the funny things and laughing at the sad things, because I feel like that's life.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about your casting process. You've ended up with such an amazing cast. Tell us a little bit about that process and how you went about finding the people that you wanted to have in this film.
Well, this is one of my favorite parts to talk about, because I really am an actor's director, and I love casting, and I love casting against type. I think that there's so many incredible actors that don't get a chance to show enough of the other sides of what they can do. We all get boxed in some way, and so I knew I'd seen Barbie Ferreira on Euphoria, and her vulnerability on Euphoria is incredible. And I found myself just wanting to watch her more and just her storylines. And I never forgot how much more I wanted to see of her. And then I saw her in Unpregnant. It's a HBO Max movie, and she was funny and witty, and she had this one of those part of the storyline, she had this childlike awe, and I was like, okay, take the vulnerability from Euphoria and the deflection and the wit and the humor and the childlike awe from Unpregnant, put them together. That's Lily. That's our hero. So everybody knew that I wanted her. I was probably saying her name like 20 times a day, and we finally got to go to her, and she came on. She was first on, and a lot of times people don't get their top pick, but I did. So that's really amazing. And French Stewart was next. His wife is a playwright and a screenwriter in my writing group. And one day she said, I'm bringing French to the group today. and I was like, oh, wow, okay. And he sat down and I said, hey, why don't you read Lily's dad today? And he read the role. Lily's dad didn't even have a name yet. And he knocked it out of the park. We were all laughing and in shock at the drama. And I said, well, that's done. I don't need to go in it. That's French. Are you free? You're cast. and then John Leguizamo was next, who's obviously incredible. I had wanted him before, but he had a really busy schedule. And then when I got things more together, I got a casting director and got to make an offer to him. Luckily, he responded to the material, and he is such a kind, wonderful human. And so I needed someone like that to play this role that would really get the essence of kindness.
So was John someone that you had in mind from the very start when you were working on this?
I kind of imagined the real friend, for a lot of it when I was writing it. But as I started to put together Barbie and put together who would work with her, who has a great heart like this, like what kind of actor would have the right chemistry, platonic, familial chemistry that would really work. And I've always been a fan of John Leguizamo. And I think the thing that really made me realize he was the one. I always watch interviews before we make an offer because I want to make sure that the person is kind, and I just want to have a good vibe on set. I really want people to respect each other and everything. So that's not always the case, and it's definitely one of my goals. So and I saw this interview with him. It was a sit down interview. It was about an hour long, and the journalist was asking him about his family and his childhood, and he's talked about his son and how his son had been bullied, and that's why he did Latin History for Dummies, which is a great program. And I saw I got choked up when he was talking about this. He got choked up. I got choked up watching it. I sent a video to my team. I said, this is it. This is our Bob. Like, whatever we need to do, So.
Definitely. So I noticed you said before as well that you're part of a writers group, and I'm part of what we call a writers workshop group here in Australia. But we don't seem to have very many of them, and it's something that I always say to young writers: you should join a group like that. How important is that group to you, and how did it help bring this project to life?
Oh my goodness, my group, we call each other the Scribe Tribe. And they are like family to me. I absolutely love them. We keep each other in check. We make sure we're always working, writing something, expressing something. We bring pages in, and writing is such an it can be really an isolated experience, but it shouldn't be, because we're all going through the same things. And so every week when we show up, we get to be there for each other. It's a safe place to try new things as a writer and bring it and see if it works or not. And if it doesn't, there's probably some constructive criticism, which is wonderful. And it's so important for up and coming writers, or any writer, to be able to take notes. And I think the writing group really has given me a lot of experience taking notes, listening to the note behind the note, not being frustrated or defensive, but like just workshopping it over and over. And then eventually you have no notes, and then you're ready to go.
Definitely. Yeah, because that's what I find as well. I love the fact that because you're working with other writers as well, and if you can get that really honest feedback, that is so rare, because so many people, if you show a screenplay or a short story to a friend, they'll tell you it's brilliant because they think that's what you want to hear. But it's always refreshing to have honest people around.
Absolutely. And then sometimes, you'll send a script to an exec or a producer or someone, and they'll say it's great. Yeah, exactly what you just said. They'll say it's great, and then they don't want to make it, and you're like, well, if it's great, why do you want to make it? They aren't bothering telling you what you need to hear, and so having an inner circle, like you just said, that will do that, and that's a safe place with people that you trust is just it's gold, really.
Definitely. Tracie, bringing it back to the cast again, what was that working relationship for you like with Barbie? Because she puts in such a brilliant performance here, and I was just wondering, what was that like for you working with her from start to finish on this film?
From start to finish, it was a dream. She's a consummate professional and also a wonderful human being. The first time we sat down, we had a lot of breakfasts. We would talk about our lives, and it was like half therapy, half director, actor, half friend, or three halves there. And so I think we built trust early on. Mike Nichols has this quote that I really like. I think it's Mike Nichols. He says, if you want an actor to go somewhere, be willing to go there first. And I don't think it means you throw all your trauma at them and you're a puddle of tears or anything. But like, if you're going to expect them to be vulnerable, I think we have to be vulnerable as filmmakers too. We have to let them know they're safe and that we have skin in the game and we got their back. And so we really built that early on, and I think it really helped us to have a shorthand and to also. She kind of took. We had my experiences, and then she had her own life experiences and her own background way of looking at everything. And I think where those two circles overlapped, that was where this character was really born.
And with French, it sounds like he loved the role as soon as he read it. In your group, did he have any hesitation at all playing a character that's pretty much the villain in the piece?
If he did, he didn't tell me. But I think it was interesting for him because some of his prior work, some of his more known prior work, he's definitely done drama on stage and done a lot of amazing films. But his bigger, more commercial things tend to be more comedic. And I think for both of us, this was exciting to show the world his chops in drama, especially some of the conflict scenes. I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
But it's interesting, because we never used judgmental language. I never called him a narcissist. When I was working with him, I was always on his character's side. We had a real theme going of hurt people, and he had been hurt, and he's hurting her because he'd been hurt, and so I didn't want him to be a caricature, and we just kept that going, but. Narcissists are charming,
Yeah.
and so he had to use his comedic chops to kind of reel Lily in, his daughter. If he hadn't done that, I think you would have thought that she was not that smart. You wouldn't have understood why what she saw in him. But he is funny. He's a funny guy, and these kind of manipulative, tortured folks tend to be kind of really funny. They get you, they get you early on.
There are some pretty confronting and full-on scenes in this film. What was it like on set with people like French and Barbie having to go through those scenes?
We from the minute Barbie and French sat down for rehearsal, their chemistry, and it was the same for Barbie and John as well, just was. We had 5 hours set for rehearsal, and we did like 90 minutes, and we're like, we should stop. We don't want to overrun this. We have it. It was just incredible. And I know French felt bad sometimes because when he had to be so mean to Barbie,
Yeah.
he would say, hey, wait a minute, I need another take, because he said he would look at her and her face would just be giving so much, and he'd just feel bad. But luckily we were all kind of a family on set, and it was such a safe space that we always were there for each other between takes, and I'd offer them a break, or I'd offer, do you want me to cut this scene up so you don't have to do it, the longer scenes, and they didn't want to do that. They wanted to go for the long run and really be in it. So
Definitely. Now, I know we're running out of time very, very quickly, so I just wanted to finish off by asking, how do you feel being here in Melbourne and being able to present the film at the film festival, but also what would you like to say to people who are about to watch the film in cinemas as well?
Oh my goodness. Well, this was our international premiere here this week, and last night actually, and it was so beautiful because this is my first feature, and it was my first screening overseas. And right beforehand, I was like, is it going to translate? Because you never know. And it was such an incredible experience watching it with the audience here in Melbourne. I can't wait to do it again. It made me feel that this really is a universal human experience, and no matter where you are, you can relate to this film. And I've met just the most wonderful people in Melbourne, and I just want to come back as much as I can. But I think, you know, if you can open your heart to this film definitely has something to give you. It's different for everybody, and I tried to layer a lot in and have a lot of characters that people could relate to in different ways. And I just want to thank anybody that will go see it, and hope that it resonates with you. And hopefully we'll all get to come back and see it again with you.